as a recruiter, if you want to get creative, now's the time to get really creative. If you feel like the recruitment process is broken, you feel like there's a way better way to do it, go ahead and try it. Most likely, because it's going to be a different approach, it's already going to be successful because it's going to stand out because it's unusual.
Initiating becoming a hiring machine sequence in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, it's Sam Keenly, and welcome back to Becoming a Hiring Machine. This is the show dedicated to fixing recruitment by going beyond saying what needs to change and instead teaches you how to make that change. Today, we've got our New Year's Tactical Tuesday episode ahead of us, but before we get into that, I just want to tell you a little bit about the show. Essentially, we have shows within the show here. Some days we have interviews with industry thought leaders and others who are shaking up the space, while other days we cover things like trending topics. Stop by every Tuesday like today for a Tactical Tuesday episode where we go deep on how to do something that's going to help you drive better results in your day-to-day. Some days we open up for Q&A, and occasionally you get a mic drop episode from Matt where he shares something that he's been thinking about in the recruitment space and wants you to know. Now, as a reminder, if you do like the content that we're sharing here on the show, make sure that you subscribe for more. All right, today's New Year's Tactical Tuesday. Let's talk New Year's resolutions. And we're not going to talk about the ones that floods gyms with new members for the first 3 weeks of January, only to tape back off to the regulars by February. Not the ones that have you promising to call your parents or siblings more often, but let's talk recruitment resolutions and the ones that we're actually going to stick with. So with that, we'll welcome your ever favorite Tactical Tuesday co-host, Vivien, back to the show. Viv, what's up?
Hello, everybody. Happy New Year.
I know, right? It's crazy to think a year ago we had a 2024 New Year's resolution episode, and here we are. We're recording this in 2024, spoiler alert, but it's 2025 when you're listening to this, when this is being released, and we're talking New Year's resolutions a year later.
Yep. Last year we talked about be the change you want to see in the world, and this time it's a little different.
So, all right, last year, be the change. We just dropped that replay episode right before the holidays, so if you haven't listened to that one, this was such a fan favorite that this should be right below you in the feed if you want to go check that out. But yeah, let's talk about what's your vision for 2025.
So 2024, there were a lot of changes. Most of it were around how recruiters can communicate with candidates. This was basically a perfect storm that came together between texting regulation changes, Google and Yahoo implementing changes to how they're dealing with incoming emails for their own customers. And so outside of just economy and all the world events and things like that, that was a little tiny wrench that the universe threw into the recruiter's life to spice things up and keep things interesting. And so the big thing and the big themes that I noticed in 2024 was that the customers that ended up being very swamped, the recruiters that were really swamped by the end of the year, and they were like, we have so many recs that we need to be working on, we're barely able to keep up. They kind of just cowboyed up and rewrote the whole rule book in 2024. So now we were able to see by the end of the year what has been working really well. And we've been talking about this on various podcast episodes, what hasn't been working so well. So the New Year's resolutions for 2025 are based on the recruiters that have cowboyed up and rewrote the playbook and so generously shared it with us. So the big theme is going to be you want to build and prioritize relationships, and whatever it takes to help you prioritize relationships. AI has come so far in the last 2 years since ChatGPT broke the scene and became a thing. We have so many really wonderful and helpful AI tools. Pick the AI type tools or any kind of like tools. It really doesn't have to be an AI. Anything that helps you get rid of the administrative stuff so that you have more time to really focus on your relationships, because ultimately the relationships, what you do, the kind of service that you provide, the follow-ups that you provide, all of that is a reflection of you. It's your personal brand. And ultimately word of mouth is going to be your number one best marketing tool ever. And it's not something that you can budget for. It's not something that you can pay somebody to do. It's genuinely who you are, how people perceive you. So 2025 is how can you make yourself be perceived as the best recruiter out there that everybody should be working with. So that starts with relationships. To have really good relationships, to have really relevant outreach campaigns and really reach out to the right people with the right content. Data entry. So the theme is you have to slowly move away from quantity so that you can focus more on quality, and that includes data entry. So the big thing is going to be figure out how you want to niche down and segment and tag all the different people that you have, so that when you want to revisit them, it's very easy for you to find them based on keywords or tag word searches. That's going to be a big one. And when you are reaching out to them, you can't keep using the recruiter spiel of great opportunity. And I know we've been talking about this a lot, but because of social media, there is now a lot more content curation, and the standard for the content that people consume has been raised tremendously because there's so many people that are creating really excellent content. And as recruiters, we have to jump on that. If you're not great at it, that is okay. AI tools are there for you to help. And leverage those, use those, but you have to segment your people. And this is where data entry comes into play, so that when you do create a really compelling campaign, drip campaign, you're sending it to the right people that really want to engage with that content. So you have to think of it in terms of, what do my recipients want to hear from me? What can I tell them? What will help them? And also have a very clear call to action so that they know by the time that they finish reading the email, what are you asking them to do? You're asking them to get back to you? Tell them that. If you don't tell them what to do, they'll just read the email and think like, great, but if you don't tell them, hey, like, let me know your thoughts. I would really love your opinion on like where you're seeing the market trends in this particular niche. That can be a great kind of like thing that you're doing with hiring managers. And the last one is going to be white glove service. And that kind of goes back into your personal brand and word of mouth. When you go above and beyond, it may not be appreciated at that particular moment, but people remember you for that. And it has a compound effect that you will stand out as the best recruiter that they have ever worked with. And that's who you want to be. Who do you want people to know you for? Like, what do you want them to know you for? Like, who's Sam? He's the marketing guy. He has a really cool newsletter that he sends out on Sundays. It can be different things. And so, or like Viv with the dad jokes. And you want to be known for something that is positive, so that almost like people advertise for you and they have like a tagline for you of like, oh yeah, the recruiter that just gets things done. Or like the recruiter that is really good at really just giving me candidates that I can pretty much hire barely without any vetting because they're doing an excellent job. So what do you want to be known for? What do you want people to use as kind of like your tagline for personal branding? All of this kind of comes together. It's under one umbrella, but this is how you like break it down. And that should be your 2025 strategy and New Year's resolutions.
I love that. 3 such good points. Yeah. So it's like data entry, how you're breaking through the noise, and then the service level that you provide. And so I just want to add a quick snippet to the second one. So when you're sharing, what are you sharing? Something that I noticed early in my career, I remember sitting in these big conference rooms. There would be, big department-wide, company-wide meeting. And there'd probably be a couple people that you feel like, why do they keep talking? Do they have to add their voice to every single part of this conversation or chime in? And then you probably noticed there may have been 1 or 2 people that barely spoke the entire meeting, but when they did, it was something really smart and everyone just shut up and listened. You want to take that same approach with your content. Don't just spew and spew and spew because you feel the need to get in front of them, but share things when it's valuable, when it's helpful to them. Don't feel like you have to post 3 times a week. Don't feel like you have to send an email every week. Share when you have something to say, because then it will be listened to. Because what you probably notice is sometimes you might get newsletters or see posts from people that you once liked, but then you started just slowly drowning it out a little bit because of the amount of volume that was coming with it. And that's where it is a good balance of how much value, also how much to send and how much value you receive from each post. Because sometimes you get a lot of value early on, then keep pounding and pounding and pounding, and it starts to lose the efficacy of that message. So that's another thing to keep in mind with that, especially as we're seeing the rise of AI content. That's another way to break through the noise. Is it's not volume. It's the impact that lies behind what that message is that you're sharing with them.
Yeah. Think of it in terms of when you get a newsletter from somebody every single day, you stop reading it, you unsubscribe. But if you see it like once a month of like, oh yeah, long time, I haven't heard from this person in a really long time, and what they do share ends up being a really good read, I enjoyed it, it's worth my time, you treat it differently. It's almost a little bit like supply and demand with economics. If you make yourself too available, people start taking it for granted. But if you make yourself a little bit more rare and you really are a little bit more focused on quality, all of a sudden people are going to be like, well, wait a second, this person has good stuff to say. They don't bother me. They don't annoy me. Now, I do want to say it is okay to follow up with people after you have had a really, really crafted kind of message. You don't want to do it like every day. You want to give it a little bit of breathing room, but you want to be strategic enough. You want to create really good content where a follow-up makes sense, where you have like, hey, I give you a couple of days to digest what I mentioned earlier. Here's another piece to it that you might want to consider and implement and things like that. So there's a couple of different ways to go about it, but basically cowboy up. It is still very much the wild, wild west. Things are just slowly kind of like settling into place. We're slowly starting to see how all of the changes that were implemented late 2022 and late 2023, early 2024, how they've been playing out. We're starting to slowly see the ramifications of that, what has been working, what hasn't. But it's still very much in like the early adoption type phase where as a recruiter, if you want to get creative, now's the time to get really creative. If you feel like the recruitment process is broken, you feel like there's a way better way to do it, go ahead and try it. Most likely, because it's going to be a different approach, it's already going to be successful because it's going to stand out because it's unusual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're in a time when our kids, grandkids, in their history books, this is going to be one of those moments like the Industrial Revolution, the Agricultural Revolution, with just what's going on with tech, with AI and everything else. So it might not feel like it, but this is a time where like playbooks are being destroyed because of all of the innovation that's come about. So don't feel worried or ashamed that you haven't cracked things, that things are getting difficult. That's disruption at its finest. So that's why it's a perfectly good time to go back to the drawing board and say like, what is the new playbook that we need to run in this new day and age?
Exactly. That sums it
up. All right,
perfectly.
Viv. Well, this was a good one to kick off the year. I hope it gives people a lot to think about. I hope it gives them resolutions aside from eating better, going to the gym more, and calling their family more often, but something work related. But yeah, I know we're going to have a fun year ahead of even more of these. So appreciate you as always for coming on and sharing those with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, as we wrap, Becoming a Hiring Machine is a production of Loxo. If you love this episode, which I know you did, and you're not sure where to go next, we have a link to a similar one. You can find that in the description of your favorite podcast streaming platform, as well as on our website. Full video episodes are available on YouTube. If you ever have questions, send them to us at podcast@loxo.co. And lastly, if you did enjoy this episode, please make sure to leave us a quick rating in your podcast streaming platform. It's only going to take you 3 seconds, but it's going to help other recruiters like you to find us. So, all right, everyone, that's the show. That is our first Tactical Tuesday of 2025 on the books. Until next time, bye, y'all.